So I've been singing the praise of Invasion from Below, the final wave of Hero Factory, but I am not blind to its faults. And there's one set in particular that's honestly pretty bad. Not just bad for that wave, but bad as a CCBS set, as a Hero Factory set. It may go down as one of the worst. The set that I'm talking about is from Wave 1 of Hero Factory called the Evo Walker. This guy right here, nothing more than a glorified parts pack, let's be honest. It's not great. It is trying to do something interesting, but it pretty much fails on all accounts in my opinion, so I wanted to go ahead and try to make it better. Now, I didn't want to pack a bunch of parts into this. I figured that kind of went out of the way of what this set was trying to achieve, so rather I wanted to keep it relatively small, keep it relatively simple, but still kind of creative, and I gave it a pretty interesting feature. Let's go ahead and look at the set. And of course, if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. That tells me to make more stuff for you, and it shows YouTube more stuff as well. All self-serving. No. All right, so this is now where I am at with the Evo Walker. Again, fairly simple, but it is still a pretty interesting build in and of itself. From the underside here, you can see some pretty interesting things going on, and it's much more heavily related to Technic, a little more heavily reliant on those Technic pieces, but utilizes some ball joints in some pretty clever ways, including the center of the body here. So this is actually using one of these extender pieces. I'm not actually sure what that is called, but I know it's on like the Thornrax set and a couple of others as well. And that is actually connecting directly to a build on the back of the model here. Probably pretty easy to go ahead and build this yourself from just these references, but I will try and throw this onto the Discord server for you as well if you want to build it. So what does this do that the previous one did not? Well, it does have the little lasers up at the top. That's nothing fancy. It's just a little bit of an extra point defense, though the cockpit is definitely a bit limited in where it can aim just because of certain connections and certain bone pieces chosen. There are definitely better ways to do this in general, but again, I didn't want to add too many pieces because it'd be very easy to turn the Walker into a good set by just throwing all of its ideas out of the window. So this still contains the blaster on the front, which is ball jointed and can move quite readily, in fact. And in fact, there is a ball joint in the torso as well. This is handled definitely better than the Walker set that we got, which does have ball joints in the torso, but they end up being sort of a impediment to the actual use of the vehicle itself. So on top of that, you still have your printed shell piece on there, and this time you get a stud launcher as well. And because of the angle of that piece, practically points to the same direction as this, which is often pretty nice in general. If you know how these stud shooters work, then you're pretty familiar with this piece, and it can also act as the blaster for Evo himself, riding in the cockpit. I would also go ahead and add his little traditional buzzsaw, which is pictured in many of the sets that Evo comes in, but for now, I just went ahead and left it off, just because sometimes the Exoforce clip arms can be a little bit rattly in these shells here. On the back end, we have a Glatorian neck that leads to the socket on the back that actually holds this canopy in, this cockpit in. You might ask though, well, why did I take the shell off of the back? And that's because this has a pretty interesting feature. At least I like to think so. So it has a bit of a transformation, and the transformation serves a purpose. We're going to be taking a look at another Invasion from Below set here in just a moment, but let me show you the transformation first. You can actually rotate the body at that joint here and push it all the way back. So the shell is not there, so it doesn't get in the way of this movement. And you can flip the cannon over, and you can kind of bend it forward a little bit. Maybe an extra joint at the cannon would make that a lot better, but it's actually there for kind of a different reason in this case. What we're going to take a look at instead is its functionality with this. And really, this is going to work with just about any of the beast sets, but I like the idea of using it with the flyer beast because of the color scheme here. That yellow is very nice. We're going to take this shell off of the torso, and on the bottom of this Evo Walker, you can see we have this socket here. That's just going to fold down, and this is where things get interesting, in my opinion. That is going to clip onto the now exposed ball joint in the torso here, and this is essentially taking control of the beast, whatever you want to call it. I think that's a really cool idea, and the idea is that maybe this can be used to, say, steady the beast. So the idea is maybe Evo can pilot it, essentially, turn the flyer beast into a flyer machine, essentially, override its brain or whatever you want to think of, and then take it to somewhere where it is safe to store it, to observe it, to study it, and learn about the creature itself. I think it's a pretty cool idea, and it even has this little data pad here as well, which some of the characters feature, and so maybe he can even get some information from this form alone. In this case, he has those point defense blasters on the front to really give him a little bit of, forward protection, but of course now has control over the weapons of the actual creature itself here too. Something else you could also do is actually take the arm off of this, or take the hand off of this rather, and exchange it for this blaster here. So the blaster could move over here, and then the hand would get in the way of the head to prevent the head from moving down. It's just an interesting concept, but I really love it. And although it looks like it is pretty front heavy, it will actually stand up like this. Thankfully, the wings are quite heavy on this as well, and it's not nearly as front heavy as it looks. So I think overall this is a pretty useful and honestly ingenious little concept here that we didn't see. The ability to take over these creatures here. In a way, maybe you could think of it like brain attack, because other than, not having brain bugs, this having the ability to actually take care of the beasts. You can, of course, insert your own headcanon as to how that's possible. Maybe the beasts are rendered unconscious or rendered immobile or something when their head is tilted. Whatever. I don't know how it works. All that I know is it looks pretty cool. But yeah, like this, obviously, you do lack a little bit of access to the blaster, so I would recommend swapping those pieces. You are, of course, left with this just kind of laying around as well, so honestly, do with that what you will. You could take this off of the back and then I guess put that on the back maybe, but it might get in the way of the wings, so don't know that that's going to work. I'm pretty happy with this all around, and honestly, that last function, that connectability with beasts, was literally a last minute thought, and so I wanted to go ahead and make this video to showcase this because I thought it was just interesting, different, and it sort of salvages the idea of an otherwise kind of trash vehicle, let's be honest. Because the Evo Walker, as an official set, only has 3 legs, which is already bad enough. It makes it very hard to move. And because it is reliant so heavily on ball joints, it makes it very hard to align things as well. The set in general just looks bad most of the time. And this is a much better method, in my opinion, for getting the set to look good, to feel right, and to feel like something imposing, especially when connected to beasts, and justify its small size. Plus you get the 3 jumpers, and that's always cool as well. Thankfully, like I said, most of the pieces, that is the wrong one, most of the pieces are readily available as well, so you can go ahead and build this yourself. Like I said, I will try and post instructions over on the Discord, either as a PDF or I may just take pictures and post those. So you'll find those there, probably in the Your Creations tab or Your Featured Creations channel instead. So if you did enjoy this content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe because it does help the channel out and it tells YouTube you want to see more content like this. So hopefully the algorithm will show you more content like this. You can also join the conversation down in the comments below or check out the Discord, Instagram, or Patreon if you want to help support the channel and get some perks. All that will be in the description, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.